Shivaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna and welcome to this Bhagavatam for the independently thoughtful. So we are in the canto 7, chapter 6, and this is Prahlad Maharaj instructing his classmates. So although they were children of demons, they were daityas by birth, by ethnic designation, and by genealogy. Somehow they're still innocent and they're attracted to his divine character. So they're listening very carefully. So Maharaj keeps instructing them. Tato yate takushala kshemaya bhavan ashrita shariram purusham yavan navipadyeta pushkalam. Therefore, while in material existence, bhavam ashritaha, a person fully competent to distinguish wrong from right must endeavor to achieve the highest goal of life, as long as the body is stout and strong, is not embarrassed by dwindling. So, achieve the highest goal of life while the body works. Because some people say, we saw yesterday, no, try to enjoy, then maybe when you're old, you cannot enjoy anymore. But Srila Prabhupada explained, no, because when one is old, it doesn't have the energy, the interest, but it's so contaminated by a life of excesses that is not going to practice spiritual life. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, stated by Prahlad Maharaj at the beginning of this chapter, Kaumara Acharat Pragya. The word Pragya refers to one who is experienced, who can distinguish right from wrong. Such a person should not waste his energy and valuable human lifetime simply working like a cat or dog to develop his economic condition. For one word in this verse, there are two readings, Bhavan Ashrita and Bhayam Ashrita. But accepting the meaning of either of them would bring one to the same conclusion. Bhayam Ashrita indicates that the materialistic way of life is always fearful because at every step there is danger. Material life is full of anxiety and fear, bhayam. Similarly, accepting the reading bhavam ashrita, the word bhavam refers to unnecessary trouble and problems. For want of Krishna consciousness, one is to put into bhavam, being perpetually embarrassed by birth, death, old age, and disease. Thus, one is surely full of anxiety. There's an anecdote that Srila Prabhupada gave this name to his disciple Bhavananda. So he thought that Bhava, long A, Bhava Ananda means the Ananda, the happiness of Bhava, the ecstasy. But then Srila Prabhupada said, no, this is Bhavananda, short A, the happiness of the material world, meaning Sankirta movement. That's the happiness in this world, to be here and spread the Krishna consciousness. Last para. Human society should be divided into a social system of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, but everyone can engage in devotional service. If one wants to live without devotional service, his status as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra certainly has no meaning. It is said, Stanam Bhrashta Patantyadha. Whether one is in a higher or lower division, one certainly falls down for want of Krishna consciousness. Sane man, therefore, is always fearful of falling from his position. This is a regulative principle. So, I mean, it's interesting. It's a regulative principle to be always fearful of falling. It's an interesting concept. In other words, to be always remembered. One should not fall from his exalted position. The highest goal of life can be achieved as long as one's body is stout and strong. Should therefore live in such a way that we keep ourselves always healthy and strong in mind and intelligence. so we can distinguish the goal of life from a life full of problems. A thoughtful man must act in this way, learning to distinguish right from wrong, and thus attain the goal of life. So this is also very relevant because the capacity of the mind, it's also related to the capacity of the body to stay healthy. I mean, to the health of the body. In fact, we know as soon as we are unhealthy, it's very hard to do anything. Sometimes the devotee thinks, oh, it's good to have some fever, so I can stay home and study. But then when there is fever or some other disease, one doesn't study. Study also takes concentration, takes bodily focus, and so on. When one is sick, it just sleeps. So we should live in such a way that we keep ourselves always healthy and strong in mind and intelligence. So the two things are related. We should keep that in mind. So I'm doing exercise, no, sometimes doing exercise, doing yoga or whatever, it's actually a good investment. I was traveling with a Srila Prabhupada disciple. He was just turned 70. And he told me, well, actually, now I feel that I would have felt better if I had invested a little more time in taking care of my body. He was not sick particularly or anything, but that was his realization that, and this is what he does a lot of service. He's always busy. It's not, but he said, I feel now that if I had done more for the body, it would make a difference. Okay, next. Sovarsha satam yayus tad artam chajitatmanaha nishpalam ya asuratriyam shitindam prapitastamam. So now this is a graphic arithmetic division. Every human being has a maximum duration of life for 100 years, but for one who cannot control his senses, half of those years are completely lost because at night he sleeps 12 hours, being covered by ignorance. Therefore, such a person has a lifetime of only 50 years. Srila Prabhupada explains, Lord Brahma, a human being and an ant all live for 100 years, but their lifetime of 100 years are different from one another. This world is a relative world, and its relative moments of time are different. Thus, the 100 years of Brahma are not the same as the 100 years of a human being. From Bhagavad Gita, we understand that Brahma's daytime of 12 hours equals 4 mil, 4, 4,300,000 times 1,000 years. Asha Yuga Paranta Mahara Yadramano Vidu. That's the Varsha Shatam, that for 100 years are relatively different according to time, personal circumstances. As far as human beings are concerned, calculation given here is right for the general public. Although one has a maximum of 100 years of life, by sleeping one loses 50 years. Eating, sleeping, sex life, and fear are the four bodily necessity, but to utilize the full duration of life, a person desiring to advance his spiritual consciousness must reduce these activities. That will give him an opportunity to fully use his lifetime. So it's a calculation. I mean, 100 years ideally. Now in human life, very rarely people live 100 years. But whatever one has of life, 60, 70, 80, whatever, one should calculate, okay, how am I spending it? And somebody spend too much time in sleeping, then of course that time is lost. Mugdasya Bali, Mugdasya Bali, let me see, sorry. Mugdasya Bali Ekashore Kridato Yati Vimshati Jaraya grasta dheyasya yatya kalpasya vimshati. The tender age of childhood, when everyone is bewildered, when one passes 10 years. Similarly, in boyhood, engaging in sporting and playing, one passes another 10 years. This way, 20 years are wasted. Similarly, in old age, when one is invalid, unable to perform even material activities, one passes another 20 years wastefully. Purple. Without Krishna consciousness, one wasted 20 years in child and boyhood and another 20 years in old age. When one cannot perform any material activity is full of anxiety about what is to be done by son and grandsons and how one's estate should be protected. Half of this year are spent in sleep. Furthermore, one wasted another 30 years sleeping at night during the rest of his life. Thus, 70 out of 100 years are wasted by a person who does not know the aim of life and how to utilize this human form. So these instructions are very graphic. It's interesting childhood, unless, of course, one has a very systematic engagement in bhakti. Srila Prabhupada translate this mugdasya, of a person bewildered, not in perfect knowledge, the tender age of childhood when everyone is bewildered. That children are generally bewildered unless they are guided and trained very properly. No, they just play with things. They live in the imaginations, no, which don't have any substance. So, or just for a few years they don't know how to read, so they can't read books. Of course, childhood, well-directed childhood can be very precious in building, but building Krishna consciousness, we read that yesterday, the very famous quote on how the Gurukul gives children deep, 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 deep rooted Krishna consciousness. But that's rare, even for our children. Okay, so these are sobering verses. Let's go next. Of course, if there are other comments or questions, you should feel free to share.
I have a question.
Hmm.
Prabhupada says women and children, right? So there's a lot of this.
Women?
Yeah, Prabhupada
Where?
compares
Where?
women and children.
Where?
Um, I don't know. You want me to find exactly the quote? I remember that Prabhupada says women are like children.
Oh, not in this purport.
Not sorry. It just came to my mind that when a woman is easily kind of influenced, like a child in one sense, they're more flexible by nature, and especially when we come to Krishna consciousness, we are told, "Hey, you're a woman, and therefore you're third class or something." Mm. So the beginning years or our first training in Krishna consciousness sometimes can have certain impact. Mm. So I just don't know. I wanted you to comment a little bit about women are like children point and here about education and our Krishna conscious social education of what it means to be a woman being a devotee, Hare Krishna devotee.
Well, I mean, as you explained, women, they are more innocent. So it's Srila Prabhupada said this is a good thing. You can see the religious life generally is more attractive to women than to men. Men, they think that they're very intelligent, very rational. They don't need God. They can manage everything themselves. So when you go to religious, like a church, Christian church, you see more women than men. So see, an analogy, you need to see what is the aspect of the analogy that we are highlighting. So in that sense, you could say the innocence of a child. Now, the child, you could say, you can tell him something. Generally, they accept. They don't argue so much. So similarly, if generally women are more pious, no, more dependent on God. Now they pray more than the men. So it's a positive thing. As far as coming to ISKCON, of course, unfortunately, yes, there are so many baggages. People either afraid of women because they're afraid of Maya, being attracted and fall down and so on, or because they don't understand very deeply the philosophy that we are all spirit soul. Second, they also only take some quotes from Srila Prabhupada as out of context, or just because they don't know so many other things that Srila Prabhupada said. Like, for instance, there's a lecture on Queen Kunti's prayer. I think it's 1:8:20. He gave twice on that verse, but in one of the two, he quotes this verse in Bhagavad Gita, Striya Vaishya Statasu Drastipiyanti Param Gatim, that the Shudras, women, and Vaishyas, they can all reach the Param Gatim, the supreme perfection, the supreme goal, the supreme destination. And in that class, the Prabhupada almost shouts that these are all considered less intelligent. But when they come to Krishna consciousness, they become most intelligent. And I mean, in that chapter, Kunti Devi is telling philosophy in such a succinct way that we are still studying for 5,000 years. Like that, after 5,000 years, we are still studying. Here is a child for Maharaj, we are still studying after millions of years what he's saying. And Shukadeva Goswami is taking time to repeat what the child says. So it's all relative. It's a fact. Sometimes we have people are not very intelligent, and they don't know how to encourage other devotees. Plus, see, I wrote a book analyzing all these things, and when I say less intelligent, see, when we say less intelligent, one may think, oh, less intelligent than man, but, but actually, but actually, less intelligent can also be taken by itself. Less intelligent. Everyone is less intelligent than than the previous ages. They have less education, less brain
Oh,
substance. So
wow. Yeah, less intelligent can just mean, in Kali Yuga, you're less intelligent in that sense, yeah.
yeah, like if you say a dog is less intelligent, yeah, all the dogs are less intelligent in comparison to men. And Srila Prabhupada explains Shudras, women, and Vaishyas. And Vaishyas are even Vijas, are born, they get the Gayatri Mantra, they get the this and that. But Krishna puts them in the all one category, Vaishya, Shudra, and women. And Srila Prabhupada explained in this world there are no Brahmana or Kshatriya. Basically, there are all Shudras and few Vaishyas. And then very often he says there is only Shudras. So Shudras are also less intelligent than Brahmana. I mean, you can see practically, you have somebody who studied either Vedic culture or even university is much more intelligent than somebody who just it's a plumber or carpenter or a whatever, somebody who work in building a street or building a mason. So they're less intelligent. They're less qualified in using the brain. So to say less intelligent, it's not that obviously there are 8 billion people. It's not that 4 billion female people are all less intelligent than 4 billion. So I mean, obviously, one time Srila Prabhupada writes in a letter, I see the girls are more intelligent than the boys. In other words, it's all individual. There are very, very smart women like we know many of them. They're very intelligent, very educated, very mature, very wise, very dedicated, very devoted. And there are men who are even, I'm talking in the moment that there are men who are really struggling to understand simple things. And they're very fanatic, they're very undeveloped emotionally, psychologically. They say so many strange things. And sometimes they don't like to study the philosophy, you know.
Uh,
Japtak Maharaj sometime was complaining. He was saying, because he made the rule, you can get second initiation if you study at least the third canto, okay?
mm,
And he was saying, how, yeah, many people just go to the third canto, finish the third canto just because they don't not go one page more. Will not go one page more. They just do the minimum. They don't, okay, I finished the third canto. It's like, oh wow, wow, what a relief. I finished the third canto. But there are still 9 cantos to go. But so Jeff Takamaj was complaining, said they will not of course, the other people, other disciples were very scholarly or something. But I'm just saying he was seeing. So that's the nature of a less intelligent person, man or woman. Less intelligent. You have the Bhagavatam, you study already the third canto, you have no interest, attraction to go on. So, yeah. So,
sorry, it's a kind of relevant question to this topic that you're speaking. Why is it that some devotees are more inclined? I mean, I understand its nature, but why there is this level of difference? Some people are so into philosophy, some people are so complicated and create so much conflict and what do you say? What theories? Controversial theories and this and that, and mm, even though like it's the same thing, we chant 16 rounds, and some people even go to Mangalarti and this and that, and there is a sort of a life standard for the devotee, but then still somehow or another the mind doesn't really alter even after practicing Krishna consciousness for a long time. Um, I don't know. My question is more like why there is so much differences in nature. Is it all previous karma? And if it's previous karma, did we all kind of start out our journeys at the same time, and some just remain degraded, some of us remain degraded, some of us use the opportunity better? Is it like that, or is it this concept called old soul? Is it true? I don't know. Is it true? Meaning, is there something like some of us are older as a soul or something? I don't know how. Why some people are so dumb and so simple like that, and some people are very highly advanced and.
well, obviously, it's previous life. That this concept of old soul is just a new age expression. Every soul is beginningless, so every soul has the same age. We are as old as Krishna. Therefore, we are eternal, no beginning, no end. So that's just an expression. We may take that expression meaning, okay, this is the soul was already being developing this spiritual consciousness for a long time, in that sense. But yes, it's previous life, but it's also in this life, how you use this life. I knew a devotee in Italy. He was telling me that his brother was very intellectual by nature. He liked to read, but then he got really into manual things. He was always gardening and doing nothing else, and even his hand changed. Like he was knowing something about hand reading. So some part of a finger just kind of disappeared. Uh, it's called atrophy. Something doesn't, if you don't use it, it becomes atrophied. So yeah, there are different reasons. First, previous lives. Different people have different baggages. Different people have different karma. I mean, you're an astrologer, you can see the planets. Some people have planets for intellectual activities, and some people really don't have that.
They,
But
they never had, they never had, or they were Brahma and they were super smart and now
Of
they
course,
become
of
dumb.
course, it goes up and down. It goes up and down. It's like the body health. You do exercise, you feel healthy, you feel strong, you feel light, then you start eating more. The necessary, you start sitting in front of the TV all day, and then you become no lazy. You become sick. You become no. Obviously, It's throughout the lifetime. It's not that they never had it. We are all soul, but how we interact with material nature. This is this 13:22 is very important in Bhagavad Gita because Karanam Guna Sangosya Sadasajjoni Jamasu. Karanam, the cause is how we associate with the gunas. And of course, the gunas are manifested in this world through what kind of music, what kind of company, what kind of reading, what kind of news, and that shapes us. So even among devotees, there are two things. One is what kind of association we keep, what kind of effort we do intellectually. Are we reading the books or not reading the books? Are we writing? Srila Prabhupada encouraged all the devotees to write because really it clarifies the philosophy, clarifies one's thoughts. It really forces you to have a very clear idea what you want to say. But the second thing is the offenses. Some people lose intelligence because they're offensive. Like one devotee.
Yeah, that's true.
One devotee rejected Srila Prabhupada. They found some guru somewhere and he wrote to Srila Prabhupada, oh, please give me the blessing that I can be a very good disciple of this new guru. Imagine writing that to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said something like, I give you the blessing that you will not make any advancement next 10,000 lifetimes, something like that. So it's also offensive. Some people may be very smart, very sharp, but then because they offend other devotees, they lose that, and they just become crazy or accept crazy thing like Ritvik philosophy. There's no just an example. There's no basis. Srila Prabhupada never said anything like that. Never said that he will continue initiating disciple after leaving this body. I study. Together with other bodies, we wrote the whole book about Ritvikism, so it's something I study inside out. There's nothing. There is just no basis in Shastra, in what Srila Prabhupada said, in any Sampradaya. It just doesn't exist. But they still go on. They say, no, I give you japa, now you're a Srila Prabhupada disciple. Some kid comes, some Sumit, Pradeep, Gita, or Shruti, they come to the movement today. After 1 year, they are Srila Prabhupada disciples. Completely against the concept of parampara, completely against all what Srila Prabhupada said. But some people just believe in that. So maybe because they're dishonest, or maybe because they're just dull, or maybe because it's just that they have been offensive and they end up in this type of ideas. They believe. But anyway, this is a like particular topic about because some of them may be very smart in terms of, but they end up in this trapped in this type of deviations. So that's a different thing. But definitely, one goes up and down in the samsara. And sometimes it's more smart, sometimes it's less. Okay. There's one chat. Sometimes people are cursed with no intelligence, no spouse, no child, no money, no health. Yeah, there are also, yeah, you can see that sometimes like that Chitraketu was cursed, he became a demon.
I mean, like, not that somebody doesn't have any of that, not like that, but sometimes, I mean, I'm thinking of one of my relative. This person was a kind of very intelligent scholar in previous life, but this life he's quite dumb, and dumb meaning he just sits at home and doesn't really have capacity to do anything, pick up anything. So it's like the person is cursed. It doesn't mean that the soul is cursed. It's just that in this particular lifetime, they're going through that.
Yeah, the soul is more covered. We are all souls, but sometimes the body or the brain gets more covered. Sometimes the brain just doesn't work as well. Okay, can we move on?
So just last thing. So Krishna conscious, becoming Krishna conscious will become intelligent. It's a very delicate statement, right? We have to be very careful how we say that everyone who chooses Krishna consciousness is intelligent. It can be taken wrongly, right?
Well, obviously, it cannot be taken in the sense of IQ. That okay, one can start chanting Hare Krishna, now he has a huge IQ like Einstein or Goethe. It means that, of course, is doing the most intelligent things. Doesn't mean intellectually or cerebrally intelligent, but is the most important, is the most learned person. See, even the biggest professor, Nobel Prize, they don't know what's going on. They just don't know. They don't even know that they are not the body. No, recently they gave so many Nobel Prizes for this and that. And it's all really, I mean, these people don't even know who they are. They don't know where the world comes from. So I remember when sometime Sankirtan devotees go distributing books, they have a chance to speak a little philosophy. And they may have been from very simple backgrounds, very bad in school and all that. But then when they talk with the person say, "Oh, you've been to university," because they speak in a way, they're trained in a way. Hamsadutta Prabhu, who is no more, he was saying that when he came to the ISKCON, he practically, I mean, he said like that. He couldn't even read. I mean, he obviously knew how to read, but he was just not intellectual at all. But then, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, by the mercy of the Bhagavatam and so on, he started even arguing with scientists because he had he had the philosophy, he had the faith, he had the philosophy, he had the boldness. There was a famous exchange with, I think was in Sri Lanka. He was preaching there, and somebody was saying, "No, but this, no, but that," and then and it was published in a newspaper, this back and forth. And so Amsadutta was keeping ahead. Oh no, it was challenging things which he heard from the spiritual master, like, okay, can you create life? Can you create an egg? So a chicken is a better scientist than you, because a chicken can create an egg. You cannot create an egg. So even with simple analogies. So if one listens to the spiritual master, it becomes very intelligent, meaning he may not be what you call expert in all the material things, but the philosophy is so powerful that he knows everything. That's what the Upanishads said. Uh, that one Yasmin Vigyate Sarvam Etam Bhavatam Bhavati. Once who knows Krishna, then he knows everything. Not that he knows all the years, the history of Bulgaria or Bolivia, but he knows that everything is uh, is Krishna's energy. So already that makes the person super intelligent. You know, you see everything you see, you know, this is Krishna's energy. And people may now be great professors in big laboratories, big scientists, and they don't know what they're dealing with. They don't know with this matter, it belongs to Krishna. So you see the difference of knowledge. So knowledge certainly makes you very knowledgeable. Sorry, it's obvious, but and some people may have very big capacity of dealing with complexities, but if they don't have the light of knowledge, they just remain in ignorance. Can one be intelligent, sattva, raja, and tama? Yes. See, material intelligence ultimately comes from false ego under rajaguna. No, buddhi, prana, the 10 senses come from that. And the mind comes from sattva guna. So the intelligence is meant to dominate this world. And yes, intelligence depends. It's like money. You can use money in sattva, rajas, and tamas. In sattva guna, you'll be giving charity. You'll be even for yourself. You invest in things which are solid, like land or buildings. Somebody in passion will have. Will maybe take a lot of risks with his money because he's attached, it will not give any charity. No, it's more like into, okay, take vacations and this and that, spending for oneself. And somebody who has money in Tamaguna will just buy drugs and booze and just destroy himself, destroy everything with money. So intelligence is the same. Somebody who is in sattva guna will search for spiritual life, will search for the truth, will even materially speaking, it will look for something sublime, some higher principle, moral, ethics, peace. One in passion can just not think, oh, I want to build a rocket like Ravana, build the rocket. I want to go and stupid things, basically, and one in Tamoguna, of course, generally Tamas and intelligence is not, but can become very, very, very destructive. Like we see sometimes this Hamas, it's in the newspaper, for 2 years they planned this attack on Israel. And it was obviously very intelligent. Somehow they could plan in a secret way for 2 years. And the Israeli spies, they didn't know. But then they did this attack. But what they did with this attack, sometimes they cut the throats of children or women, they kill civilians. So it's like an intelligence, but frankly speaking, from the strategic point of view, the whole world, so these are barbarians. They kill children, they kill women. We're not combatants. So yeah, there was intelligence in planning all these attacks, but then you can see that there's even strategically is not very intelligent. So like that, yes. Chats. I don't mean using intelligent modes. I mean can someone be a mode of passion intelligent? That's a good intelligent or intelligent Thomas. Can someone be a mode of passion intelligent? Yeah, you can use the intelligence to gratify senses or to just make business. It's like there are many intelligent businessmen that just build up a company and this and that. Like there was, I don't know if you ever heard, but there was a man. His name was Marchionne. He was Italian, but was kind of also international, like that. He took up the Fiat, the car Fiat, and he was a super manager, appreciated by everybody, and this and that. He would get up every morning at 4 o'clock and start working, and everybody was really appreciating him as a super manager. But then a couple of years ago, he just died. He died of practically fatigue. It just completely exhausted his life. So what did he gain? He made a lot of money, but then he left everything. So yeah, intelligent in the mode of passion. And because passion is very strong, one cannot stop. And they use the brain, but then they cannot even enjoy, because to enjoy, you need some sattva guna. Okay, can we move on? Unless Rajeshwari Radhika Dasi has anything to say. Durapurina kamena mohena chabaliyasa. Oh, we have a chat. No, Prabhuji, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Durapurina kamena mohena chabaliyasa. Shesham griyeshu saktasya pramattasya payatihi. One whose mind and senses are uncontrolled becomes increasingly attached to family life because of insatiable lusty desire and very strong illusion. In such a madman's life, remaining years are also wasted because even during those years he cannot engage himself in devotional service. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, this is the account of 100 years of life. Although in this age a lifetime of 100 years is generally not possible, even if one has 100 years, the calculation is that 50 years are wasted in sleeping, 20 years in childhood and boyhood, 20 years in invalidity, jara vyadi. This leaves only a few more years, but because of too much attachment to his old life, those years are also spent with no purpose, without God consciousness. Therefore, one should be trained to be a perfect brahmachari in the beginning of life and then to be perfect in sense control, following the regulative principles, if one becomes a Azol. From Azol, the one is ordered to accept Vanaprastha life, we go to the forest and then accept sannyas. That is the perfection of life. From the very beginning of life, those who are ajitendriya, who cannot control the senses, are educated only for sense gratification. And we have seen in the Western countries, as we have seen in the Western countries, thus the entire duration of a life, or even 100 years, is wasted and misused. And at the time of death, one transmigrates to another body, which may not be human. At the end of 100 years, one who has not acted as a human being in a life of tapasya, austerity, and penance must certainly be embodied again in a body like those of cats, dogs, and hogs. Therefore, this life of lusty desire, sense gratification is extremely risky. One more thought about intelligence. Srila Prabhupada stressed to his leaders, like one devotee, Shukadeva, is no more. He wrote, apparently asking, what can I do to satisfy you? So Srila Prabhupada answered, well, you're already doing so much. He was temple president. So you're already doing so much, but since you're asking, I'm telling you, you should go in the college or university and attract intelligent people. We need intelligent people to lead this movement. So Srila Prabhupada clearly said, clearly understood, when it's not that when you come to Krishna consciousness or ISKCON in particular, okay, now you become a genius. No, you bring what you have, like the famous analogy of zeros. Material life is all zeros. Even the big scientist, zeros. But if you have more zeros, when you put one in front, you have much more. So the zeros have value, have a relative value. So 5 zeros is much better than 2 zeros. Because when you bring Krishna, then 5 zeros become, how much it becomes? 1 lakh. And 2 zero becomes 100. So we need to, Srila Prabhupada understood very clearly. There is an exchange of letters with one of his good brothers, the very, very, very beginning. Okay, when he was alone in New York. So there is a letter Srila Prabhupada said, look, you want to send a brahmachari, but either is educated, he speaks English, or he knows very well to play mridanga. Otherwise, don't send it. In other words, imagine Srila Prabhupada was alone in New York. Anybody could help, right? At least wash the clothes, at least do some errands, cook and something. But Srila Prabhupada said, no, unless they're educated, they can speak English, or they can be very good mridanga players, so they have that musical culture. They can don't send them; it's useless. In fact, we see sometimes, it's obvious. So some devotees who come from background of knowing how to think, that they're much more valuable for the mission. And this is not, obviously, it's not racism because it's not based on race. Like Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, he was so smart. He was coming from Princeton University, and you see how much he did, how many books he wrote, and how he could develop strategies and so on. So it's nothing about race. It's just some individuals are more prepared, are more intelligent, and can be more useful. And some people are not. Okay, next. Kogriyesh puma saktam atmanam ajitendriya sneha pashadridhai bhaddam utsaheta vimochitum. What person too attached to his old life due to being unable to control his senses can liberate himself? An attached householders is bound very strongly by ropes of affection for his family, wife, children, and other relatives. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada Maharaj's first proposal was Kumara Acharit Pragyo Dharmam Bhagavata Hiha. One with sufficient intelligence should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. Dharmam Bhagavatam means the religious principles of reviving one's relationship with the Supreme Personality of God. For this purpose, Krishna personally advises Sarva Dharmam Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Braja. Give up all other duties and surrender unto me. While in the material world we manufacture so many duties in the name of so many isms, but our actual duty is to free ourselves from the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. For this purpose, one must first be liberated from material bondage, and especially from household life. Household life is actually a kind of license for a materially attached person by which to enjoy sense gratification under regulative principles. Otherwise, there is no need of entering household life. Before entering household life, one should be trained as a brahmachari, living under the care of the guru, whose place is known as the Gurukula. Brahmachari Gurukula Vasandanto Guroritam, 7.12.1. From the very beginning, a brahmachari is trained to sacrifice everything for the benefit of the guru. Brahmachari is advised to go begging alms door to door, addressing all women as mother, and whatever he collects goes to the benefit of the guru. This way, he learns how to control his senses and sacrifice everything for the guru. When he is fully trained, if he likes, he is allowed to marry. Thus, he is not an ordinary grihastha who has learned only how to satisfy senses. A trained grihastha can gradually give up household life and go to the forest to become increasingly enlightened in spiritual life, and at last take sannyas. Rav Maharaj explained to his father that to be freed from all material anxiety, one should go to the forest. Itvatma patum griyamanda kupam. One should give up his household, which is a place for going further and further down into the darkest regions of material existence. The first advice, therefore, is that one must give up household life. Griyam anda kupam. However, if one prefers to remain in the dark well household life because of uncontrolled senses, he becomes increasingly entangled by ropes of affection for his wife, children, servants, house, money, and so on. Such a person cannot attain liberation from material bondage. Therefore, children should be taught from the very beginning in life to be first-class brahmacharis, then it will be possible for them to give up household life in the future. To return home back to God, one must be completely free from material attachment. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga means Vairagya Vidya, the art that can help one develop a distaste for material enjoyment. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Ashvaragyam Gyanam Cha Yadahai to come. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of God, the Shri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Bhagavatam 127. One engages in devotional service from the beginning of life, easily attains Vairagya Vidya or Asakti, detachment, and becomes Jitendriya, the controller of his senses. One who perfectly engages in devotional service is therefore called Goswami or Swami, master of the senses. Unless one is master of the senses, should not accept the renounced order of life, sannyas. A strong inclination for sense enjoyment is the cause of the material body. Without full knowledge, one cannot be unattached to material enjoyment, but as long as one is not in that position, one is not fit to return home back to God. Okay, here Srila Prabhupada very strongly, very graphically explains basically the whole varnashram in the line of the ashram. So the idea here is very important. I mean, what I want to comment is the children should be taught from the very beginning of life to be first-class brahmachari. Then it will be possible for them to give up household life in the future. In other words, what one develops in the childhood, it's not just a preparation for adult life and that's it. It's a cycle. You live in the ashram, you serve the guru, as Srila Prabhupada very clearly explained. You become that's your identity. I'm a servant of the guru. Then, of course, okay, maybe you want to get married. Okay, you get married, but the identity remains strong, just like Srila Prabhupada. He developed. He didn't go to Gurukul technically, but he went to a Vaishnava school first. Then he went to the college. But then when he met the guru, they went to the Scottish Church College later. But when he met the guru, he identified, this is my guru. And so even in family life, he was more identified as a servant of the guru. So even during the Second World War, 44, he was, 47, 48 or so, he started the Back to God and magazine. And then he could detach himself. So the idea is this: one becomes very renounced as a brahmachari when he's fresh, you could say, fresh mind, fresh body, fresh senses and everything. He lives a life of austerity, he lives a life of dedication and service, humility, going begging like that. Then, even if he enters life for 20, 30 years, then he can come out of that. Otherwise, very hard because they don't know anything and they become weaker and weaker. So, like we see, sometimes children are just playing video games all day. And so, where they get the strength to, I'm talking even devotees. And how do they get the strength when they are 50, 60, 70 to kind of, okay, now I dedicate myself to spiritual life more seriously? It's a cycle. And Srila Prabhupada explained how you can see throughout the Bhagavatam, or Canto, throughout the Bhagavatam, you see these kings, Anga or the Malayadvaj in the Puranjana story, or Prithu Maharaj. Basically, it's a constant dynamic. They rule the kingdom, they do all what they needed to do, and then what? Then they leave and they go to the forest. So Srila Prabhupada explained because they had this training, they could do that. I mean, the Pandavas, they actually lived like yogis in childhood. They were yogis in the Himalayas. And so for them to leave everything, Hastinapura, all the opulence was, yeah, no problem. Or even going to the incognito for exile was like, okay, no problem. Even Ramachandra, okay, I go in exile. Good, simple life, no politics. I have the sages. I see holy places. Big deal. So, but because they are the basis of culture. Okay. So that's why I always stress about this Gurukul thing, because otherwise one just become a Griyamedi. The life becomes basically ends with the Griya. It doesn't go because there's no experience of something higher. So where do you get that the detachment? I mean, anything is possible by Krishna consciousness, by association, by miracles. But that's the Varnashram system. I'm a brahmachari, you live 25 years in a very pure life. Okay, then you can do vanaprastha and sannyas later. Kon varta trishram vrishrijhet pranebhyopi ya ipsitah yam krinatya subhi prishtais taskara sevako vanik. Money is so dear that one conceives of money as being sweeter than honey. Therefore, one can give up the desire. Therefore, who can give up the desire to accumulate money, especially in household life? Thieves, professional servants, soldiers, and merchants try to acquire money even by risking their very dear lives. How money can be dearer than life is indicated in this verse. Thieves may enter the house of a rich man to steal money at the risk of their lives. Because of trespassing, they may be killed by guns or attacked by watchdogs, but still they try to commit burglary. Why do they risk their lives? only to get some money. Similarly, a professional soldier is recruited into the army and he accepts a service with the risk of dying on the battlefield only for the sake of money. In the same way, merchants go from one country to another on boats at the risk of their lives, or they dive into the water of the sea to collect pearls and valuable gems. Thus, it is practically proved, and everyone will admit, that money is sweeter than honey. One may risk everything to acquire money, and this is especially true of rich men who are too attached to a old life. Formerly, of course, the members of the higher castes, the Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, everyone but the Shudras, were trained in the Gurukul to adhere to a life of renunciation and sense-control by practicing brahmacharya and mystic yoga. Then they were allowed to enter household life. There have consequently been many instances in which great kings and emperors have given up household life. Although they were extremely opulent, they were the masters of kingdoms. They could give up all their possessions because they were trained early as brahmacharis. Brahmaraj advice is therefore very appropriate. Komarachari pragyo dharmam bhagavatam iha durlabham manusham janma tadapya dhruvam artadam. One with sufficient intelligence should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. Human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary like other bodies, it's meaningful because in human life one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. Human society should take advantage of this instruction. So very important verse and purpose, money, how people are willing to take any risk. They know that there's great risk, but they're willing to take any risk to have more money. Because money is power. Money is the capacity of buying things that you want or experiencing certain things that you want to experience. But that's all for the senses. So it's like, again, it's a waste. And then again, Gurukula. Again, Gurukula is the basis of civilization. That's why I have this presentation, which I presented at ILS, at GBC College, and so on, entitled Varnashram without Gurukul is simply a hobby. Hobby doesn't mean a bad thing, but if we talk about Varnashram without talking about the education on which Varnashram is built, then it's like a hobby. Some hobbies are very sattvic, like people walk or people swim, people paint. There's nothing wrong with a hobby, but it's not what they do for a living. So if we want a real Varnashram, we need to have a real Gurukula. Otherwise, you see, Srila Prabhupada keeps saying again and again and again, and it's not just my idea. It's the basis, because a type of education creates a certain type of citizens, and a certain type of civilization, a certain type of society creates a certain type of education. So it's a cycle. If you create brahmachari, then you can have varnashram. If you don't create brahmachari, you'll have something else. You'll have griyamedi. And of course, griyamedi will be low class because the whole consciousness is on the body. This is my body, this is my family, this is my country. It's all very low class. Okay. Okay, number of verses here. Katam priyaya anukampitaya sangam rahasya ruchiram samantram suritsutatneya sitha sishunam kalaksharanam anurakta chittaha putram smaram duhitrir ridaya Bratrin Swasrin Vapitarocha Dino Grihan Manogyoru Parichadamscha Vritishakulya Pashubhritya Vargam Tyajeta koshas krit ivehamanaha karmani loba avitripta kama aupastya bahumanyamana katam virajeta duranta moha. How can a person who is most affectionate to his family, the core of his heart being always filled with their pictures, give up their association? Specifically, a wife is always very kind and sympathetic and always pleases her husband in a solitary place. Who could give up the association of such a dear and affectionate wife? Small children talk in broken language, very pleasing to hear. And their affectionate father always thinks of the sweet words. How could he give up their association? One's elderly parents and one's son and daughters are also very dear. A daughter is especially dear to her father, while living at her husband's house. She is always in his mind. Who could give up that association? Aside from this, in his older affair, there are many decorated items of household furniture, and there are also animals and servants. Who could give up such comforts? The attached householder is like a silkworm, which weaves a cocoon in which it becomes imprisoned, unable to get out, simply for the satisfaction of two important senses, the genitals and the tongue. One is bound by material conditions. How can one escape? Purpose. In household affairs, the first attraction is the beautiful and pleasing wife. Increases household attraction more and more. One enjoys his wife with two prominent sense organs, namely the tongue and the genitals. The wife speaks very sweetly. This is certainly an attraction. Then she prepares very palatable food to satisfy the tongue. And when the tongue is satisfied, one gains strength in the other sense organs, especially the genitals. Thus, the wife gets pleasure in sexual intercourse. Household life means sex life. This is encouraged by the tongue. Then there are children. A baby gives pleasure by speaking sweet words in broken language. And when the sons and daughters are grown up, one becomes involved in their education and marriage. Then there are one's own father and mother to be taken care of. And one also becomes concerned with the social atmosphere and with pleasing his brothers and sisters. A man becomes increasingly entangled in household affairs, so much so that leaving them becomes almost impossible. Thus the household becomes Griyamanda Kupam, a dark well into which the man has fallen. For such a man to get out is extremely difficult unless he is helped by a strong person. The spiritual master who helps the fallen person with a strong rope of spiritual instructions. A fallen person should take advantage of this rope. And then the spiritual master of the Supreme Personality of God, the Krishna, will take him out of the dark well. Okay, so this is the difference between the Bhagavatam and any other literature of this world, because of course, most people will enter Grihastha life, even devotees. So it's not condemning the dynamic, but unless it's totally balanced with strong Krishna consciousness, then one becomes a Griya Medi. Medi means the brain is always in the Griya, and that's all. So it's not a condemnation of Grihastha life, but it's very graphic. And this is the difference between Bhagavata and Bhagavatam as the book and Bhagavata culture as the whole civilization or culture based on the Bhagavata. Extreme negativity about material life. Now, this can be expressed or can be manifested in a very immature way. People start hating children, I remember once there was a devotee in the Bhagavatam class, and he was giving birth, and then I wasn't there, but I was told he was giving birth in class. Then a child came by and he said, "Hey, can somebody take out this little bag or stool?" It's like, well, if when I heard that, I thought, well, if he's a small bag of stool, you are a big bag of stool. What's the difference? You know. So somebody can be very negative against women, against children, against everything. Uh, One sannyasi, I remember, said the problem with ISKCON is that sometimes devotees, they don't, when they enter Grihastha ashram, they try to live like vanaprasthas. So they don't really experience the Grihastha life in a mature way, in an intelligent way, in a normal, sane way, in a healthy way. So it's a very, very subtle thing that needs a lot of attention, because if we read this type of verses and purpose with immaturity or with fear, then one might maybe take sannyas, and then after some time he can't hold anymore this desire for association, for companionship, and for family, and then they become what the Vedic culture called vantasis, those who eat their own vomit. They vomited and then they eat again the vomit, which is not very nice. And we see dozens of devotees took sannyas and then they gave up the sannyas. So one should be realistic, but should also have this underlying fear of this type of attachment. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada said in Bhagavad Gita, if one can make the house Krishna conscious, there's no need of renunciation. No? I'm thinking of Matsyavata Prabhu, is 78-year-old, and he still lives at home. The wife is also Srila Prabhupada disciple. They all serve very nicely the mission, very focused, very concentrated. And he told me that he was talking with some time ago. He was talking with a senior sannyasi in his car. I don't want to say the name because it's private conversation. But that sannyasi told him, no, there's no need to change anything externally. In other words, you don't have to get out of the house. And you could see he's so strict in his sadhana. He's all day busy teaching disciples, teaching other people. And so for him, the house is not an attachment. It's not like, oh. No, that's a platform where he serves Srila Prabhupada. And he's much more productive than many sannyasis who, okay, they took sannyas, but they don't have that intelligent, the strategic mind, or they may be going around giving a few classes, but they don't have the capacity of building an institution. So, but material life, it is like this. People become more and more and more attached. In the 5th canto, we heard Rishabhadeva says, Pumsastriyami tu nibhavamita tayor mitori grantim hahu ato griya kshetra sutapta vitar janasya mohoyam aham ameti. That by attraction, male, female, then the knot in the heart becomes strong, and then uh, and then you need a house, and then you need the maintenance, then you need then you have children, then you have relatives. It's all like a network of attachments and obligations. And then janasimo yamahamameti, you start thinking, this is me and this is mine. Although the soul of one moment it leaves the body, nothing is he anymore. Nothing is not anymore that person, and nothing is his. And everything is gone. Chat, even worse. Husbands treat a sweet wife abusively, not being grateful. She may please him and still he may beat, cheat, or discourage her, and use philosophy to defend his weakness. Yeah, but then can be tamas guna. they yes, one can be violent, ungrateful. So in other words, it's even one sense lower than a Griamedi because at least Griamedi, Srila Prabhupada was saying the wife speaks sweetly. In other words, even if it's materialistic in a cultured environment, there is harmony and there is some pleasure, like a drop of honey in a pot of poison, but there is some pleasure. But when one of the spouses or both the spouses he hate each other, they're toxic, and they're meditating on how to hurt each other, or the husband is so frustrated that they may beat the wife, like that. So yeah. Once I wrote an article like was Griya Medi Ki Jai, something like that, because sometimes devotees they may say no Griya Medi, no Griya Medi, but then they cannot even be Grihasta, they cannot be even Griya Medis. See, Griya Medi, at least Medi means intelligence, means meditation, so they, at least they think of the Griya. Some devotees they don't think of the Griya. They think, oh, you know, I'm not happy with this wife, I'm not happy with the husband, so they just split, they just divorce. And then they say, well, it didn't work out. Like it did not work out. What is supposed to work out? You're two people, you had to make it work out. What it didn't make work out. It's not a lottery that you buy a number. Oh, it didn't come. No. So anyway, so some people are, even the devotees are not even qualified as Gremedis. Not qualify as Grihasta, not even qualify as Gremedis, because at least Gremedis, okay, keep the thing going, have your children, have their children grow up with two parents, and keep going. Keep going. But sometimes devotees are not even, sometimes are not even devotee, they're not even qualified to be Griyamedi. So they split, they divorce, they go to somebody else, and after some time they divorce. So they have one child with that, one child with that, one child with that. It's a complete mess. And they mess up the life of people completely. Hmm? I remember there was a famous letter, Srila Prabhupada says, this guy wanted to, this the devotee, this devotee wanted to divorce, or because, and Srila Prabhupada was kind of really almost surprised. He said, "Come on, you know, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, say, come on, everybody understands that Grihastha life, it's okay. You have to work, you have to maintain the family and all that, but you don't want to do it. The problem is that these people were even qualified material life. They were just hippies. They were totally irresponsible. So they're not even qualified as Griyamedi. Because to be a Griyamedi, you got to be responsible, you got to be dutiful. You may be attached, but you need to be together. Okay? Keep together. Like Srila Prabhupada says, also the verse says, you have animals to take care, you have cows, may have sheep, you have dogs. Dogs need to be taken care of, and all that, right? But you need to be together. You cannot have children, wife, parents, dogs, cats, and not to be together. Like once I was saying, there is a system for people who are, say, a drunkard or addicts, you know? So first they say, first, when you are at least little together, take care of a plant. If the plant survives, means you are together enough to take care of a plant, and the plant doesn't die, then you can think of a dog. And then you can keep a dog. And then if a dog survives, then you can think of a woman, if he's a man. Then you think of a relation, thinking of romance. It's not that you're a mess and then you think of a relation, human relation. No, it doesn't work. Start with a plan, then move to a dog, and then maybe you can have a relation. So yes, some people are irresponsible and violent. And it can be man, it could be the wife, or can be both. Okay, we have 13 minutes of this nectar. I mean, it's nectar because this is Bhagavad. This opens the eyes. Otherwise, everything, see, try to understand, try to understand. I'm telling myself first. Everything else in the world is the opposite. You see a movie, Hollywood movie, they just try to be happy forever, and the not the many stories, and they what's the end of the story? And they live happily forever after, which is not true. Which is not just not true. There are many fables. Now the prince is the prince, and they live forever. They live. What is that? Forever, and they live forever happily. What's the mantra? I don't remember, but something like that. No, they lived.
Happily ever after.
Yes, they lived happily ever after, which is a lie. But when you keep listening, people think, yeah, this is my goal, to live happily ever after. But it's not true. It's just not true. So the whole culture is about attachment. Either attachment or just madness. Uh, But here the Bhagavatam, Prahlad Maharaj. And Prahlad Maharaj, try to understand, is a realized soul. He's not speaking out of immaturity, out of fear, out of resentment. It's not that he had a wife, it didn't work out, so now he say, oh, the rest of life is terrible. No, it's just telling the truth. He learned from Narada Muni. He is realized, he loved Krishna, his heart is full, and it just plus later on he also gets married. No, so but it just speaks the truth. This is the truth of material world. uh People sometimes don't want to, so often people materialistic, no, 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 don't tell me about that, don't speak about that. But that is, it's for everyone. So anyway, we could talk a lot about how this culture, materialistic culture, completely pull, what do you say, pull the wool in front of people's eyes, and just gives false promises and false expectations of some happiness that never happens. Or if it happens in a very fleeting moment and then it's gone. So we're very happy to have this Bhagavatam in front of us and study this Bhagavatam, because this cools us off. No, it cools us off our hopes for happiness in this world. Otherwise, everything else, it increases this idea that you can be happy in this world, you can be successful. No, the Bhagavatam say you cannot be successful in this world. The only success in this world is to get out of this world. It's like if you're in prison, the only success is when you get out of prison. There's no real success in the prison. Yeah, okay, you may be a little influential, or you may get a better cell, maybe a little larger. Maybe from the window you can see a little more. You can see some trees. No, so it's better, but it's a prison house. You have no freedom. You're in a cage basically. And so the only good thing about prison is to get out of prison. So the only good thing about this world is to get out of this world. And this is the Bhagavata culture. Dharma projita kartavo, against all the religions which are cheating, because they're telling, no, this world is great. You can go to Swargaloka, you'll enjoy apsaras. Don't worry, we have so many rituals and so many devatas, and they will all bestow a blessing upon you. Blessing for what? For death. Okay. Kutumba pushaya viyanira nijayur na buddhyatirtham vihatam pramata sarvatra thapa trayadu kitatma nirvidyatina svakutumba rama. One who is too attached cannot understand that he is wasting his valuable life for the maintenance of his family. He also fails to understand that the purpose of human life, a life suitable for realization of the absolute truth, is being imperceptibly spoiled. However, he is very cleverly attentive to seeing that not a single farthing is lost by mismanagement. Thus, although an attached person in material existence always suffers from threefold miseries, it does not develop these states for the way of material existence. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, a foolish man does not understand the values of human life, nor does he understand how he is wasting his valuable time simply for the maintenance of his family members. He is expert in calculating the loss of pounds, shillings, and pence, but is so foolish that he does not know how much money he is losing, even according to material calculations. Shanaka Pandey gives the example: a moment of life cannot be purchased in exchange for millions of dollars. A foolish person, however, wastes such a valuable life without knowing how much he is losing, even according to monetary calculations. Although a materialistic person is expert in calculating costs and doing business, does not realize that he is misusing his costly life for want of knowledge. Even though such a materialistic person is always suffering threefold miseries, is not intelligent enough to see his materialistic way of life. Okay, so this is an illustration of penny wise, pound foolish. In other words, one may be very wise in saving a little money, but then he loses so much money. So here Srila Prabhupada makes an important point. Even materially speaking, this body is valuable. And if you waste it in just material life, it's just a great waste. Yeah, this body is valuable even materially. I mean, if you had to replace things, you see how much it costs. One artificial foot, artificial leg, artificial hand. I was just reading this morning, somebody got his hand amputated or something. It cost $30,000 just for having an artificial hand. And what to speak of all the, now you have hearing aids. And certain things you can't replace really, like an eye. You can just, they don't have artificial eyes if you don't. So many things, bones replacement, hip replacement, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and we get it in one sense for free, right? We generally have working bodies, and you can see that the body is even valuable materially. But if one wastes for making money or just that making more money, let's say everybody needs some money, but if you waste to make more money, it's like really super penny wise and super penny foolish. Okay, at least one more verse. Vitesha nitya binivishta cheta vidhams chadosham paravitta hartu pratyahavata pyajitendriyastad ashanta kamo harate kutumbi. If a person too attached to the duties of family maintenance is unable to control his senses, the core of his heart is immersed in how to accumulate money. Although he knows that one who takes the wealth of others will be punished by the law of government and by the laws of Yamaraj after death, he continues cheating others to acquire money. Especially in these days, people do not believe, Srila Prabhupada's book, especially in these days, people do not believe in the next life or in the court of Yamaraj and the various punishments of the sinful. But at least one should know that one who cheats others to acquire money will be punished by the laws of the government. Nonetheless, people do not care about the laws of this life or those governing the next. Despite whatever knowledge one has, one cannot stop his sinful activities if he is unable to control his senses. And this we see a lot. This we see a lot. We see a lot, some very, what do you call, oh, I wasn't sharing the screen. Sorry, nobody told me. I don't know if anybody's there. I forgot to share the screen. So this we see a lot in life. We can see, and sometimes not this cheating, little cheating, stealing, and often we are wondering, but they don't understand that they do this, and then somebody will do it to them in this life, next life. They don't understand. No, they don't understand. The senses are too strong. That immediate pleasure of they know it's illegal. They know it's sinful. If they at least have minimum of civilization, but it's like no, it's too much. They can't. They can't control themselves. I was thinking just recently something happened. I don't remember now, but I remember the feeling. Don't they understand that there will be a reaction? I don't remember, but just a few days ago, I was very, very graphic thing, and now I don't remember. That they can't understand that, okay, you do like that, you gain a little bit, but then it will happen to you. It will happen to you later. Like sometimes we see devotee cheating other devotees, maybe selling or cutting a little land that they know this doesn't belong to them. I remember a friend, he had a little land and somebody built a building. It just cut, and it was his land. And it was really so painful for him. It was such a painful thing. It's not just the land, but it was such a painful thing. And the other devotee just couldn't care. He's like, no, that's finished. I built the wall on your land. And it was so painful. Uh, and they don't understand that, okay, now I've taken your land. Sometime back, some people may take my eyes or my hand or my legs, or next life they'll do much more, because always we need to also remember that the punishment generally is more than what in other words, the punishment is corresponding, but it's like somebody kills somebody, you may kill it in 5 minutes, but they give you 50 years of jail. Not that because the sin lasted 5 minutes or the punishment lasts 5 minutes. Doesn't work that way. Anyway, so this was the Bhagavatam for today. We very, very illuminating, very kind of awakening from the illusions of this world. Thank you, Prahlad Maharaj. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Shukadeva Goswami, Maharaj Parikshit, for giving us this chance to be sane in this world of insanity. So, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So, Krishna willing, we have tomorrow, we continue. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.